Admiral Kraz of the Voidwalker Collective stood at the viewport of his dreadnought, watching Earth's orbital defense platforms with unease. His massive frame, 3 meters of scale, claw, and fang, tensed as he contemplated the upcoming diplomatic meeting. "This is madness," First Officer Drell hissed beside him. "That humans have invited the 5 most powerful species in the galaxy to their homeworld simultaneously." Kraz's inner eyelids flickered. Perhaps that's why we accepted. The Voidwalkers had dominated 3 spiral arms through ruthless conquest. The Mechful horde had subjugated entire civilizations with their psionic abilities. The Crimson Dynasty were living weapons engineered for war. The Void Hunters were legendary assassins. And the Swarm, well, they consumed everything in their path. Yet all had accepted humanity's invitation. "They're so small," Drell muttered. Humans had only achieved faster-than-light travel 80 years ago. They were physically unimpressive. No natural armor, modest strength, dull senses. Their only remarkable trait was their adaptability. Not enough to explain why these apex predators were converging on Earth without hostile intent. "Ambassador Tom will meet us at the landing pad," Kraz said, trying to sound confident. Tom Miller waited patiently as 5 shuttles descended through Earth's atmosphere. The human diplomat wore a simple suit and carried no visible weapons, unlike the heavily armored and armed honor guards of each alien delegation. "Welcome to Earth," Tom said as the aliens disembarked. "I trust your journey was comfortable." Admiral Kraz towered over the human, his tail twitching. It was adequate. Queen Sis of the Crimson Dynasty stepped forward, her exoskeleton gleaming with bioluminescent patterns. "Why have you gathered us here, human? We are not allies." "Far from it," added Overlord Vex of the Mechthul, his 6 eyes scanning for threats. Tom smiled. "I believe mutual understanding begins with shared experiences. You'll all be attending a dinner at the President's residence tonight." The aliens exchanged glances. In galactic culture, sharing food was an intimate gesture of trust. "A trap?" suggested Elder Thorn of the Void Hunters, whose species resembled sentient plants with venomous thorns. "An observation," Tom corrected. "You'll notice none of you have attacked each other, despite your histories. You're curious about us." The Swarm Queen's translator emitted a series of clicks. "Humans are unusual. You should be prey, yet you thrive." Tom nodded. "Exactly why we invited you. Now, shall we?" President Kate Reynolds welcomed the delegations at the White House. The banquet hall had been modified to accommodate various alien physiologies. "Before we begin," the president said, "I understand you all have concerns about each other's presence. Let me be clear. Earth is neutral territory. Any act of aggression will be met with immediate response." Admiral Kraz nearly laughed. What could these humans possibly do against their advanced weapons? As if reading his mind, the president continued, "Admiral, your ship's defense systems were temporarily disabled when you entered our solar system. The same applies to all delegations." A wave of tension swept through the room. "Impossible," Queen Sis hissed. The president smiled. "We may be young, but we learn quickly. Now shall we eat?" What followed was a diplomatic marvel. Humans had prepared specific dishes for each species' biology. Moreover, they engaged their guests in conversation about topics ranging from art to technology, demonstrating surprising knowledge of each culture. Admiral Kraz found himself discussing Voidwalker poetry with a human professor. "How do you know of our ancestral verses? They aren't shared with outsiders." The professor shrugged. "We found references in the archives of the Centauri remnant. Beautiful imagery, by the way." Kraz stiffened. The Centauri had been formidable opponents before the Voidwalkers conquered them. That humans had accessed and deciphered their archives was concerning. Similar revelations occurred around the table. The humans knew details about each species that they shouldered: combat techniques, biological weaknesses, cultural taboos. A question, Overlord Vex suddenly addressed the president. "Why reveal that you understand us so thoroughly? Strategically unwise." President Reynolds sipped her water. "Because we don't want war. We want cooperation." "Cooperation," Elder Thorne scoffed, "with apex predators." Precisely because you are apex predators, Tom interjected. Like us. The room fell silent. Humans don't look dangerous, Tom continued, because our predatory nature isn't physical, it's intellectual. We study, we adapt, we prepare. While you conquered through force, we observed and learned. The Swarm Queen's translator clicked rapidly. You have been hunting information. Yes, the president confirmed. And we've discovered something remarkable. None of your species are truly incompatible. Your conflicts stem from competition, not inherent hatred. Admiral Kraz's inner eyelids blinked slowly as realization dawned. This dinner isn't merely diplomacy, it's a demonstration. If humans can break bread with 5 apex species simultaneously, Queen Sis concluded, perhaps we could do the same with each other. Tom smiled. Precisely. Earth doesn't want to join existing alliances. We want to forge new ones. Imagine what we could accomplish together instead of wasting resources on endless wars. The remainder of the evening proceeded with cautious but genuine conversation. As the delegations prepared to depart, Admiral Kraz approached Tom privately. Clever predators indeed, the Admiral rumbled. You've made your point effectively. Which point would that be? Tom asked innocently. That humans understood each of us well enough to destroy us if needed, yet chose diplomacy instead. Kraz lowered his voice. Those defense system disruptions, they were just one example, weren't they? Tom's expression revealed nothing. We prefer friendship to fear, Admiral, but we're prepared for either. As their shovel ascended, First Officer Drell asked, your assessment, Admiral. Kraz watched Earth grow smaller below them. Mark this day, Drell, the day apex predators became dinner guests and realized they'd met their match.